So, right off the bat, the PAX conference revealed a lot of interesting information about Double Exposure, such as the full Double Exposure soundtrack being available before October the 29th, that the game is going for an even darker approach earlier on in the narrative, and there was also an indication, although not outright stated, that this game is a complete story and not a cliffhanger ending. Although, knowing Life is Strange, there'll be multiple endings. The studio also said that they have every intention of making more Life is Strange games, and that this is by no means the end, which is great. So, why am I feeling blue? Let's unpack. Now, some questions were not answered fully, which is understandable as the creators wanted to avoid spoilers, but reading between the lines and listening carefully to the creators' choice of words, I did notice a couple of things. Firstly, in relation to Chloe, it was stated that if you'd sacrificed Arcadia Bay, she would be alive at the beginning of the game. Read into that what you will. I hope it doesn't mean we'll have a Joel situation, which would be even worse given the gravity of the sacrifice, but I don't want to over-speculate and jump to conclusions, so we'll leave it at that. Either way, it's pretty evident from what we've seen so far that any appearance Chloe does make, regardless of your choice in Life is Strange 1, will be relatively small, but certainly no less significant, like in Final Fantasy X-2 when you play through the entire game and have to complete a whole load of other stuff just to get a hug from Tidus. This seems to happen a lot. Joel, Tidus, Solid Snake, all important characters, all mostly absent in their direct sequels, and maybe Chloe now too. Of course, it's possible we'll see her in a dream sequence, flashback, or of course a different timeline, depending on your choice. If you chose Bay over Bay and she is alive, I think we'll get little more than a short cutscene in terms of appearance, but perhaps a bit more in the social media exchanges, which have been stated to be somewhat significant in terms of catching up with characters from the original game. One of the most significant moments in the presentation, though, that stuck out for me was when Max gets caught by Alderman. She appears to rewind time, complete with a nosebleed and everything, and although it looks like her rewind power is back, it seems now that it's involuntary and only triggered under certain circumstances, perhaps stressful situations. She can also move items between timelines, which is very interesting. Can she move people too? And also, it does make me wonder, if Chloe is alive in one timeline and Safi in the other, will the final choice be to save one or the other? Fun fact, I noticed these glitches, Alderman not holding a phone in the last frame of this cutscene, and not at all in the background here. Looks like Alderman has superpowers as well, as he's able to light things with his hand. Another interesting point that was made was the exploration of the supernatural powers in the Life is Strange universe, including Max's, Daniel's, and Alex's. There is a suggestion that these powers are somehow connected to the seasons. Double Exposure is set just before Christmas, the game is being released just before Halloween, and the Christmas run-up. Deck 9, the creators of Double Exposure, did not have a plan for the franchise in the beginning because they were not the creators of Life is Strange 1 or 2. Any lore or background they add to these games will be to fit in with a new narrative they started building with Before the Storm, adding meaning to previously established material that wasn't initially there in the first place. Or, if there was meaning there, it would be the original creators that knew what it was. In 2019, in an interview with the Don't Nod Life is Strange creators, they said in no uncertain terms the following.
In the first game, we told the story of Max and Chloe, of course, but it was a whole story. It was a finished story for us.
It was never Don't Nod's intention to continue Max and Chloe's story, yet they recognised the impact these characters had on fans and the franchise. Max and Chloe put Don't Nod on the map, and it would have made financial sense to continue the story, but it wasn't money driving their ambition. Instead, and there's certainly nothing wrong with this, they wanted to build their own IPs, breaking their relationship with Square Enix to do so. As a creative, it's admirable, putting art before money. I have a ton of respect for them doing so, but as a fan, I'm conflicted. How does this impact Double Exposure? If the original vision from the original creators was for Max and Chloe's story to be over, then that's a firm full stop. Right? Well, not exactly. No. Everyone who's played Life is Strange has played a slightly different version of the game, and even though the choices boiled down to two crucial ones in the end, the journey was far more complex and diverse for us all, making each story our own. So it's kind of ironic in a way that the creators decide where the story ends, because surely that decision lies with us. Maybe you think so, maybe you don't. Either way, Deck 9 now have creative control and have decided to continue the story against the original creators' wishes. But I actually think this is fine, and there are many examples of creators that no longer have creative control, but whose IPs have thrived. Ian Fleming, Yuki Naki, Bob Kane are a few examples that come to mind of people who created characters that are now in different hands. It's not unusual. However, all of this, of course, then raises the question of what's canon. If IPs are passed back and forth and handled by different people, are they still official incarnations or fanfiction dressed up? The general consensus, I would say, is yes, they are canon. The torch is being passed, but legitimately into the hands of people who we hope, maybe even trust, to honour the foundations of what has come before, and there is certainly evidence of that in how Deck 9 handled Before the Storm. So, it's okay, right? Well, Double Exposure is a new story featuring Max. Objectively, I see nothing wrong with it. It's a creative product giving an outlet to plenty of fans, myself included, that want to see a continuation of the story and allowing the excitement of seeing Max again wash over you. It's a great feeling. I get it, and believe you me, I'm feeling it too. The game is certainly not a perfect interpretation of what I personally want, because what I want is unique to me and the choices I made. And in some ways, it's impossible to give me what I want, but at the same time, I don't want to box myself into a corner through a stubborn viewpoint and refuse to accept something I could get a lot of enjoyment out of. It's silly.
I mean, enough of the silliness!
But I also want to share my opinions and concerns as they are at this moment in time. And you don't need to join all the dots together to see the final picture, if you get my meaning. Deck 9 is suggesting that no matter what ending you chose, Max winds up in Caledon University regardless, at exactly the same point in her life. This suggests predetermination and the illusion of choice, which of course is ironic. I said before that it would be a kick in the teeth if one of the two endings were not honoured, but the more I think about it, the more I wonder if trying to make a jack-of-all-trades chameleon game is the answer. Would it have been better to stick to one ending and then make another game following on from the other? Thing is, I see Bloom and Rage from Don't Nod and it feels fresh, but nostalgic. I'm intrigued. Its menus pop, the characters are alive. I can see myself getting my teeth firmly into this. It's got heart, it's got soul, and I've always been drawn to creative products that exude passion, craft, and originality, and Bloom and Rage is absolutely brimming with it, there's no doubt. At this moment, it's bizarre that I'm getting more Life is Strange vibes from Bloom and Rage than I'm getting from Double Exposure. That is just mad. I'm not saying Double Exposure is none of these things. The environments look gorgeous and the facial animations are next level good, but I'm just not feeling it. Maybe I will on release, and that's the thing. The game isn't out yet, and I still and always will maintain the ethos of giving people and projects a chance. But that being said, I see and I hear little things, and I can't help but raise an eyebrow. But sometimes my intuition is bang on the money.